And then I found that I was just taking excerpts out of the letter. So rather than trying to redo what the governor said, I'm going to just primarily focus on those things because I believe that they show the progressiveness and the innovativeness that this individual has displayed over the years, not only as commissioner, but really during his entire career with corrections. And in fact, the governor says in the one paragraph, throughout his career, he has been witness to and a significant contributor in reshaping corrections in the overall criminal justice system in the state. In his 37 years that he has served DOCS, he has drafted legislation that has been signed into law by 5 governors. He has long been a leader in sentencing reform and corrections program legislation. In 2007, he was appointed Executive Deputy Commissioner, where he played an important role in the merger of the then Department of Corrections and the former Division of Parole into the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. This new configuration allows for the agency to take a more holistic approach to providing services to incarcerated individuals. And so what kind of an impact did his work in sentencing reform, program legislation, the consolidation of those departments, what impact did that have on his state? Well, in 1999, his state had a peak inmate population of 73,000 inmates. And they had 70 prisons at that time. Today, he manages an agency with 31,500 inmates, far less than 1/2 of the peak. And I think that by the end of this fiscal year, they'll be down to 44 prisons. And that number of 31,500 is rather unique too, because it's the lowest number that they've had, the lowest inmate population they've had since 1984, which coincidentally is the year that that individual started working for the agency. During his tenure as commissioner, he has continued to implement countless progressive programs, such as the medication-assisted treatment, expansion of the equine program, and the deployment of tablet technology for all incarcerated individuals. He has spearheaded programs dedicated to addressing a variety of issues for those with mental illness and assisting individuals leaving prison in registering to vote and rejoining civic society. In 2014, the commissioner successfully resolved some complex litigation via settlement agreement dealing with segregated confinement, significantly reducing its use and the number of days an individual serves in this setting. He led DOCS in establishing step-down units as alternatives to segregated confinement, where individuals receive congregate programming in cognitive behavioral therapy to address the underlying reasons for misconduct. And he also deployed tablet technology in those units as well, so that those individuals could maintain contact with their loved ones and their family. He is currently in the process of instituting the recently enacted legislation known as the Human Alternatives to Long-Term Solitary Confinement, or better known as HALT. And it's to be completed by March of this year. The law is one of the most progressive reforms in the country, placing a 15-day cap on segregated confinement and requiring at least 4 hours of out-of-cell time for congregate programming, activities, meals, or recreation for those individuals during that 15 days. For individuals who cannot be returned to the general population after 15 days, the commissioner is establishing residential rehabilitation units that will require 7 hours of out-of-cell congregate programming, activities, meals, or recreation daily. Additionally, he is overseeing the transformation of our community supervision and parole activities within the state by instituting the Less is More, a piece of legislation I recently signed into law. This legislation prohibits the reincarceration of individuals for technical parole violations. So I guess their population is going to continue to go down. He has been recognized by several organizations over the years for his contribution to the field of corrections. He has also been a lecturer on prison operations and sentencing laws and other corrections matters in front of many organizations, including the American Correctional Association, the National Institute of Corrections, the Western Governors Association Drug Policy Summit, and the National Association of Attorney Generals. He's an active member of CLA. He serves on the Racial Disparity Committee, the Recruitment and Retention Committee, and the Reentry and Community Corrections Committee. In October of this year, he hosted the CLA Northeastern Region meeting in Niagara Falls. And during that meeting, he also hosted a tour of Attica some 50 years after the serious Attica riots in his state. And I'd like to close with one short sentence from the governor's. It's in the last paragraph of the governor's letter, and I think it sums everything up about this individual. The commissioner has had a profound impact on corrections and criminal justice in the state of New York. Commissioner Tony Annucci, would you like to come on up?
Well, good morning, and thank you so much. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, CLA, for that wonderful award nomination and acceptance of this. I am both extremely humbled and honored to be here today to be the recipient of the Michael Francke Career Achievement Award. I have always believed that whatever profession one may choose in life, whether one's a scientist or a journalist or a lawyer or a judge, etc., I don't think there's any more gratifying feeling than when one's peers in that correction bestow an honor. And when you're talking about the field of corrections, and the association is our association, CLE, well, then that gratifying feeling is raised to a whole new level altogether. Again, I'm so honored to receive this award in the name of Michael Francke. Throughout his tenure as two different commissioners, he was innovative, he was a visionary leader, and he brought about tremendous reform. He followed in New Mexico, the riot brought in after 33 individuals were murdered. And then he was brought into Oregon, where he was also a visionary leader. And he died tragically on January 17th, 1989. So very shortly, it marked the 33rd anniversary of his tragic passing. But it's important that we honor people like him and keep his memory alive. As many of the people in New York will tell you, I often sound the theme of family when talking about our profession because we take care of one another, we support one another, we're there for one another. I grew up in Brooklyn with Italian-American heritage. My immediate family wasn't large. I had two older sisters, but I had a lot of great aunts and uncles and regular aunts and uncles and so many cousins. And I learned early on the importance of family values, taking care of one another, celebrating one another, being there in happy times and in sad times. And the one thing you learn, the essence of family is family takes care of family. And that's what we're doing here. I am absolutely convinced that years from now, people who have not yet been born will carry on this tradition and bestow awards and recognitions in the names of Michael Francke and Tom Clements. And through this vehicle of CLA, our wonderful family comes together and celebrates. I got to experience those family values from this organization when I went through probably what was the most difficult time I'd ever experienced in my 37 years of corrections. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was the escape from Clinton Correctional Facility of the two murderers, Matt and Sweat. I remember the week before very clearly. It was a very, very busy week. It started out early. I was at one correctional facility for graduation, college graduation. Then I traveled to another part of the facility where we had a labor management meeting where the local representatives can ask me and my executive team anything they want to ask about what's going on in day-to-day operations. Then we have a dinner where we sit down together, break bread together, and get to know one another and appreciate each other more. And then after that, I was in another part of the state at another college graduation. I had delivered my remarks. I was still on the stage. And I get a message that you need to come back to Albany right away. So I did. And the reason to come back is that the governor had decided he wanted to come and tour another correctional facility the following week. And we had to make all those arrangements. So needless to say, there's a lot that goes into making arrangements for a governor to tour a maximum security correctional facility. I remember that night, it was a Friday night, when I went to bed finally, after working out all the details, my head hit the pillow and I said, boy, I'm really going to enjoy a good night's rest. Well, that lasted a little while. About 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from the lieutenant in the command center that said, sir, I have to inform you, Clinton just called, they're missing too. And down the rabbit hole we went. It was an extraordinarily stressful time. I went right away to Clinton, and shortly thereafter, the governor came, and he brought with him his videographer. He likes to videotape a lot of what he's doing. So he had his videographer film his every movement throughout the facility, and he retraced this path as much as he could of the two murderers. So needless to say, when you give that to mainstream media, it really exploded into media coverage like you would not believe. I remember every day going to that prison, passing the satellite trucks and the broadcasters who were talking about the efforts to find the two murderers. So it was extremely stressing to the point where when I would call my wife, and she would get all stressed out because I had all these different people commenting about it, criticizing the department and the leadership in Albany, and it's all their fault. And I just would tell her, do not watch news. Do not watch anything about the news. Just watch reruns of I Love Lucy or whatever you want to watch. Do not watch the television. So back to my point about family. It could be a very, very lonely feeling when you are in the hot seat like that. But what really, really kind of rescued me was the calls and the outreach that I got from the members of this family here. People would call and send emails and say, we want to help. What can we do? I'll send a team of dogs there. How can we help you? We're here for you. We're supporting you. And just all that outreach from family. Family takes care of family, and they were there. So that is something that I will never forget. The other thing I want to briefly mention is that you've heard me say this before. The success of a corrections commissioner director very much depends upon the quality of the people he has on his executive team. I'm standing here in large part because I happen to have a phenomenal executive team. But even more importantly, I happen to have a number two that, in my humble opinion, is second to none anywhere in state government, anywhere in the country. That's Dan Marticello. Join me, please. Give him a little round of applause. But the escape ended, but it didn't end when we captured the one remaining individual. The other one was shot. And so much came afterwards. We had to have a state IG report that took a year in the making. And then when they released it, media coverage. There were specials, documentaries on CNN and other cable network. And then, of course, the final quiver and the arrow in the quiver was Ben Stiller decided he was going to make a movie about it. So they had to film it at Clinton. We had to let them follow the path. They had to come out of the same manhole cover in the street where the two original murders came out of. We had to do all of that and live through that. And I just refer to this as the gift that keeps on giving, because it's never going to end. There's always going to be another story. Someone else is going to write a book. I will say this, if Ben Stiller decides that he wants to do a sequel, I'm going to suggest that he go the comedy route. I think there's a lot of possibilities with the title, The Escapees Meet the Fockers. Get a lot of mileage out of that one. The other thing you need besides a great executive team, you need a sense of humor. You need to be able to laugh and have some fun. And I think we all do that in this business. We all have humor, and that's what helps get us through the most difficult days. I'll share with you one funny story, because we're here in Phoenix. This was the site of a rather comical event that I was involved in over 20 years ago. Long story short, the ACA convention is here, And the main speaker they were having, the keynote address, was being given by Tony Orlando, the singer from Tony Orlando and Dawn. So I'm here with a bunch of people from New York, and first night we go to a few hospitality centers and we have a few drinks, and we're going to the next one. And as we're walking through the hotel, we pass by a piano and some seating area where people can lounge. And by way of background, I used to play piano professionally when I was in Brooklyn. I was a lawyer during the week, and I was the house piano player at a place in New Jersey, playing weddings, cocktail hours and dinner and brunch. So we passed this piano, and I say, I have a great idea. The executive deputy commissioner at the time, it was his birthday, he was back in Albany. I said, let's call him on the phone. I'll play Happy Birthday on the piano. We can all sing to him. So we try and get him, and well, he's driving, give him another 10 minutes to get home. So I just start playing the piano while we're there. And, people are listening. A few people come by and they're listening to this. And, one of our colleagues said, wow, we have our own Tony Orlando here. Listen to him play. So finally we get through to John. I play Happy Birthday. We sing it to him, and off we go to the next hospitality suite. So the next night, we're on our way to another event, and some people are stopping me and giving me their business cards and exploring what we can do business-wise for New York State. And this one guy comes up and he says, Tony. I said, yeah. He says, I really enjoyed your playing last night. I said, oh, thank you very much. He said, yeah, and my wife's a real fan too. I said, really? He says, yeah, so can I have your autograph? I said, you want my autograph? He says, yeah, that's okay, isn't it? I said, sure. Being the congenial guy I am, I said, you want my business card too? So he says, yeah, take out my business card. I sign it on the back. I hand it to him. I go inside to the hospitality suite. My two friends are laughing hysterically. I said, what's so funny? So you just gave that guy your autograph. I said, yeah, he asked me for it. Yo, well, do you know why? I said, I don't know. Maybe he heard one of my lectures and he was really blown away. He says, no, he thinks you're Tony Orlando. Little footnote to this. Many years later, I'm walking through one of our prisons where we've got one of these new mental health units for the seriously mentally ill. We bring them out and you have them in classrooms and restart chairs. So I walk into the classroom, and there's one individual in a restart chair. He looks at me and he points and he says, you know who you look like? You look like Tony Orlando. And he starts singing Tie a Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree. So that is another one of those events that I think is going to follow me, along with the other event from Dan tomorrow. Well, let me end on a note I sounded, and that is, when I look out into this room and I look at all of you, I don't just see peers and colleagues in a very difficult and demanding and sometimes thankless profession. What I see first and foremost is family. Family that looks after one another, family that takes care of one another, family that is there in good times and the bad times, and especially the most difficult times. So I am truly honored to be amongst my family to receive this award. I'm so grateful to the governor for signing that wonderful letter on my behalf. And I will treasure this award for the rest of my life. Thank you very much.
Okay, great job. Great job, Jeff, by the way. Excellent job. Great job, Tony. Congratulations. Just want to acknowledge, many of you saw it already, but maybe Tony didn't, but we've got upwards to 40 plus people up on Zoom right now, all across the country, that wanted to make sure that they were also part of this. And so we want to acknowledge you and thank you very much for being on Zoom and being a part of this. I know Tony appreciates it very much. I can't help to tell you, and you know this already, Tony, you just mentioned it, but it was such a privilege. It's a privilege to be in this position to hear from our chairman about what the committee and who they chose. And then it goes to Jill, and then Jill calls me, and Jill and I, always, it's like we're super excited about it. And then made that phone call to Tony. And no sooner did I hang up with Tony, I got this call from this
very emotional, very Italian mafia sounding Dan, who seriously was as happy and as emotional as Tony was about Tony getting this award. And it just speaks to what you just said. All of us should be so blessed to have someone that loves and cares for you like Dan does. So Dan, congratulations, and Tony, congratulations. Really, really great stuff. Thank you both again. Really.